Good morning, everybody. I hope this video finds you well. um, Today I'm in the middle of the Chinese holiday. This is the Chinese version of the 4th of July, which is, unlike the United States, which is 1 day off, China has 10 days off. But they call it the national holiday. Basically, that's when Mao Zedong came to power and established modern China. You don't really hear about that kind of stuff too much in the West. You just hear that was the birth of China. Ooh, wah, 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 wah. But basically what happened was the former government of China was very, very corrupt, as all governments become very corrupt. And there was a lot of discontent in China, and a lot of movements were formed in China. And the dominant movement that took power was the communist movement. And that was the signs of the time. The remaining government fled. They just took all the gold, they took all the riches, all the wealthy people, and they moved to Taiwan. And Taiwan will be reunified. Trust me on that. But that's neither here nor there. What I want to talk about today is something else. And this has to do a little bit about what the fuck the United States is doing in Europe. I read an interesting article from Hal Turner, and he is suggesting that it seems to be obvious the United States is trying to cannibalize Europe. It wants to prevent Europe from becoming a dominant competitor. And he suggests that all the industries from Europe, and Germany in particular, will then move out of Germany, go into the United States, and suddenly, like the snap of the fingers, America will have a competitive industry again. No, I don't think that's going to happen. They might think, the United States government might think that that's their plan. That might be the plan. But it's not going to work that way. There's this love of statistics. There's this love, accountants really love to play with numbers. They say, well, look at this number. Well, look at that number. And that clearly says this and clearly points to that. And they look at chart trends and everything with numbers. There's no real good numbers there's all sorts of numbers, but there's no really good numbers regarding industry, because people don't care too much about industry. They care about the products made, but not how they're made. So let's suppose that Hal Turner is correct. The United States endgame is to weaken Europe to a point of not just being a vassal, but being a poverty-stricken vassal state, and a war-torn one where American weapons can be thrown helter-skelter and used to make huge profits to the military-industrial complex and all this and that. But at the same time, moving industry into the United States. Well, people, you can move factories. I moved factories from the United States to China. But, it's not that simple. You have to have infrastructure. People say, well, we won't make things in China because China is bad. We'll make them in Vietnam. Vietnam is good. I told this story before. I was in Huawei store. No, it's Xiaomi store. And I saw another foreigner there, and we were talking about phones. He's like, I don't like Huawei. Huawei, I got bad feelings about Huawei. Very icky feelings. I was like, well, what the hell? Do you have a bad phone? Girlfriend had the phone. What's the story? Bottom line was he was just had all this bad thoughts about Huawei because of the non-stop American narrative about how bad it was. He had no actual physical experience, only the bullshit that he read. And that's kind of what's going on. But anyways, so some factories, they moved to Vietnam. I know because I supply them parts. And they're having a dickens of a time because the work attitude for the Vietnamese differs from that of the Chinese. Yeah, they're all slanty-eyed, right? They're all the same, right? That's the way it works, right? And that's the way it works, right? Everybody's the same, right? They're just kooks. Pretty racist, isn't it? That's what I think. I think a lot of Americans are very racist, and they can't control themselves because they're racists, so badly racist. And they should be ashamed of themselves. No, socially, Vietnam is quite different from China. And the work ethic is different. The roads are different. The power reliability is different. The construction and assembly environments are different. The way that people think and retain knowledge is different. I read an example. Somebody says, well, they're Norelco. It's a European company. Where is it? I think it's a Northern European company. Maybe I pronounced the name wrong. And they were making shavers. And this guy had a shaver for the longest time, and it was a Chinese shaver, and it works really, really good. He decided to buy one of their new ones from their factory in Vietnam. And he was complaining because the blades weren't 100% precision. And you guys who shave, know that if it's not 100% precision, you're going to go, pull this damn little thing off. And yeah, it's just junk. And you're like, oh, razors, I never heard of such a thing. Yeah. Go get a razor that's not 100% precision. You'll see a difference, a big difference. And that's what he's complaining about. And the price was the same as the Chinese, but the quality was so much worse. And he assumed that because the parent company owned the factories in China and in Vietnam, that the quality would be the same. And that's what I'm telling you here. The quality will not be the same. Quality is regionally dependent upon the societies that make the product. Revolutionary speaking, I am. Probably get me banned for something, saying something as simple as when you make something, the place determines the quality. If you make something, it's the place that determines the quality, as well as the person who's making it. That's racist, they may argue. It's not racist. It's truth. I'll tell you what. If I wanted to get myself a Caribbean sandwich, a Cuban sandwich, I'd go to Cuba. Not Cincinnati. And if I wanted to have a nice computer, I'd get it out of Shenzhen. Not out of Zambia, Africa. I'm not saying that people in Zambia can't make computers. What I'm saying is that there's more to making things than numbers. And so Hal Turner postulated that perhaps the reason is this grand plan to bring industry back by cannibalizing the industries of Germany, having them move to America, and then poof, America gets all this industry. And it will be the same problems that you have anywhere when you relocate a factory from one area to another area. you will have growth pains. You're going to have to train a workforce. You're going to have to be able to work with that workforce because they're not going to be able to think like the workforce that you're used to dealing with. They're not going to adopt things, and they will cause you a lot of problems. So it won't be that easy. There'll be growth pains. Will it be successful? Maybe, maybe not. My guess is there's a lot of variables we don't know. Let's suppose you're going to bring a German toolmaker, somebody who makes hard fixed tools, hammers, wrenches, screwdrivers, finely engineered precision tools. The factory goes from Germany, goes to the United States. The engineers, the upper management, gleefully decide to leave a collapsing Germany for the United States and view it as an adventure, as an opportunity. The workers stay in Germany and rely on the social networks within Germany to survive. And the factory moves and they start hiring Americans. An American worker typically will not want to work in a factory today because the American culture is one of instant riches by coding. You too could become Bill Gates by learning how to code. You too could be your own boss by being an Uber driver. You too can have side hustles, setting up bed and bath. Nobody really wants to clock in, punch out, work in a factory. So let's suppose they do find people that can do that. What would those people be like? So you're going to go to this level of German workers, where it's part of traditional lifestyle, to this level of American workers who are all in it for themselves and don't care. They just don't care. And it's going to be a period of adaptation. How long will that period of adaptation be? We do not know, but it'll probably be a while. And with that period of adaptation will come a loss of revenue. So you're going to see European products, say in this case, this toolmaker being displaced by, say, products from Korea or China. And once you've displaced their market share, they're going to have to fight back to regain it. Reputation only lasts so long. Remember what AMC did to Harley Davidson? It took a long time to undo that fiasco. For those of you who don't know, Harley Davidson has had a reputation of being a well-made, American-made motorcycle with a distinct feel and sound. And they were bought out, a hostile takeover, if I recall. It might not have been hostile, but I think it was a hostile takeover. In any event, they were bought out and they were taken over by AMC and American Motor Corporation. And they were all, and of course, during the 1990s, 1980s, 1990s, everything was, okay, cut costs. And so you ended up getting the cheap ass, they went from a high-grade engineered product to a utility-grade disposable product. They treated those Harley-Davidson motorcycles just like we treat paper cups. Use it, discard it. But you see, a motorcycle is not something you use and discard. And Harley-Davidson was a brand that people treasured. So It ended up for 10 years or a long period of time, they had leaky oil pans and all kinds of other problems that were systemic by the management belief in how to make these products. Ugh. Well, from what I understand, it was a long time ago, everybody banded together and bought Harley Davidson away from these idiots at AMC, and Harley Davidson started producing good, well-made motorcycles again. And that's the Harley Davidson story. So when I say the fiasco of what happened to Harley Davidson, that's the story I'm referring to. When some bankers and some attorneys and some accountants took over the company thinking that they can make a cheaper product so they can get more money and more extra zeros on their spreadsheets. And if Hal Turner is correct, then that is the exact same thinking of what you have right now that's going on in the United States. That people, American company, American leadership might believe that they can just relocate these factories and suddenly America has industrial power again. Doesn't work that way, won't work that way. And there will be if that is indeed the situation, and I don't know if it is, it's just an interesting hypothesis put forth by Hal Turner, because the United States leadership is just fucking, they don't know jack shit. That being said, if that's the hypothesis, it's going to be a rocky period of time for adaptation to an American workforce while Germany kind of collapses. Germany collapses, the Europe collapses, the EU collapses. Without industry, and it all goes to America, America will be in a period of retooling. But remember, people, it's not enough to move a factory. You have to maintain your brand cred, meaning the credibility of your brand has to be maintained constantly, like the Norelco razor. People who use and expect quality when they're shaving suddenly find sticking to your head and dangling because the blades are not properly oriented, will probably not buy a Norelco product again. They'll buy a Chinese product that with guarantee won't do that. Once you lose a customer base, it's gone and really hard to get back again. So these are facts of reality that I don't think that the leadership has any idea what they're doing. Perhaps they have this grand plan. I don't know. Seems to me pretty damn silly, but so we don't know what's going to happen. We just don't know. We don't know. But Hal Turner postulates this, and it seems to make sense if you were sipping cha and eating caviar in a McMansion somewhere in the suburbs of Virginia, perhaps. You know, I got a comment yesterday. This guy says, "What about the debt crisis? You know, the debt trap that China is trying to get all the other nations to fall for, a debt trap." I'm like, you know what you're saying? You know, when I was a kid and I was in school, and there were girls, they didn't like another girl, or they didn't like a boy, you know what they would do? They'd say, "He's got cooties, he's got cooties, ooh, stay away from him." And everybody would stay away from that other kid. That's what debit trap is. It's just a bunch of idiots over in the United States saying, "He's got cooties, don't do it with them." Such is life. All right. I don't know what's going to happen. I saw that, and I think I think if it's a plan, it's not a well thought out plan. It could possibly be. It's like that scene from Aliens. The Alien Resurrection. In the movie Alien Resurrections, they clone Ripley to get to the monster, and so they try 8 times, and then on Ripley 8, they separate them. So they've got the monster and they got Ripley 8, and Ripley 8, they say, well, she's got some genetic alterations. It's an improved side effect. And that's what I think right now. The idiots over in Washington, D.C. is like, that's an improved side effect. Yeah, we'll see how improved it is. From their point of view, okay, Germany's going to let collapse. Who gives a damn? American industry will prosper. Yeah, you're going to be selling coffee to each other. You have to have a consumer market. Well, America has a consumer market. I got to remind you people. You know where the biggest consumer market in the world is? It's China. Why? China's population is 5 times that of the United States. And they're almost all middle class. Who has the biggest consumer market? China does. You take high quality German products, you move it to the American market, and Americans start buying high quality German products at German prices inside of America. That could work. Will it work? Well, that only assumes that there's no inflation. If you have inflation, people will start looking for bargains. Meanwhile, in China, you're keeping the costs down, you're keeping moving the quality up. And you have this fighting without the birth pangs of relocation of factories. All right, that's my thoughts on this matter. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's actually going on. We just see a lot of people coming up with conjectures. And when I saw this conjecture, I wanted to say something about it. So I said something about it. Anyways, however you handle everything, I would advise prompt and conservative actions. Make sure that you have multiple sources of heat in your home and alternative ways of accessing electricity. Not that there's going to be nuclear war or anything, but in uncertain times, make sure that you do not have one sole resource that you depend upon. Repeat myself. During uncertain times, make sure you have multiple sources of key resources. Fresh water, food, transportation. It doesn't hurt to have a bicycle, a horse, multiple sources of transportation. Solar panel for charging your cell phone. A little wind generator. If you've got a bubbling brook, make yourself a little water turbine. It doesn't hurt to have alternate sources. Make sure you have the ability to have food, be part of a community, and watch out for the ignorant and unprepared. People act really strange when they're hungry. And that's my thoughts for today. Oh, and one more thing. Big bads, medium bads. You know, bad. He's bad. Bad. Commander talks about bads. On levels, bads. Not so bad. A little bad. Medium bad. Big bad. Okay? So when I say that Commander is talking about medium to small bads. It's a measure of discomfort, horror, and terror. Medium bads. Still on the radar screen right now, guys. Okay, with that, y'all take care. Be the best you can be. And remember, guys, I believe in you.
专注才会放手，万里苍穹之下，忠贞的英雄，生死成败其中，教许人懂，十年征途，一如既往一勇，朝着心中的梦壮志凌空，唯一的目标勇往直前冲动，心中无悔热血灌溉从容，掀起冠军之争风起涌，大漠孤雁峥嵘，翻云覆雨不休，水火相融，不知疲倦的汹涌，一路谁与争锋，不惧深刻眼眸，你就是冠军后你最荣耀的巅峰。坚持融入于空，专注才会放手，万里苍穹之下，忠贞的英雄，生死成败其中，教许人懂，十年征途，一如既往一勇，朝着心中的梦壮